everyone, and welcome back to People Jew Want to Know podcast. Today's guest is one of the only people I still seem to get starstruck around, the incredible, remarkable Aleeza Ben Shalom. She's somebody I've wanted to bring on the pod since day one, and I'm glad that a year later, I was finally able to do it. Aleeza Ben Shalom is someone who really needs no introduction, but in case you're unfamiliar with her work or need a refresher, let me read you her bio. Aleeza is an American-Israeli matchmaker, relationship coach, author, and reality TV personality. She is the lead character in the Netflix series Jewish Matchmaking, where Aleeza sets up various Jewish young people on dates and helps them find love and get married. Aleeza has been doing matchmaking since at least the year 2012, when she created Marriage Minded Mentor, which is a global service that provides matchmaking, dating coaching, matchmaker training, online courses, among other things. Since 2012, and especially because of the Netflix show, Aleeza's work has expanded tremendously to the point where she has a network of dozens of different Jewish matchmakers who work for her or with her to set up people all over the world. Aleeza currently lives in Israel, where she's been since 2021 with her husband, 5 children, and family dog. Before living in Israel, Aleeza lived in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And it's funny because when I lived in Philly for 2 years, I ended up meeting a ton of people who knew Aleeza well before the Netflix show, and she was just an incredibly important person in the Jewish community there. Ironically, as someone who has left such an incredible mark on Jewish entertainment, Aleeza is someone who doesn't even own a television. But make no mistake, she's incredibly tapped into the world of social media and completely caught up with the trends. Aleeza also just released a new book called Matchmaker, Find Me a Love That Lasts. Literally yesterday, it hit the stores. It's available everywhere you get your books, and I highly recommend you grab a copy. Aleeza has incredible dating advice, and you'll get a sense for her dating approach and philosophy in today's episode as well. I want to go back to something I shared earlier, which is that Aleeza is one of the few people I still get starstruck around. It's her and Rabbi Manis Friedman. Aleeza has this contagious energy of positivity and light, and I feel like a very strong spiritual energy from her as well. There's just like a godliness about her that strikes me. And I also think Aleeza pioneered the world of Jewish reality TV. And so part of me is also starstruck because she's an OG in that regard. And she was one of the first quote unquote Jewish celebrities I was really, really a fan of. They say to never meet your heroes, but this definitely does not apply to Aleeza. I absolutely loved meeting her. She's so sincere and kind, even to people she's not well acquainted with. And I think that's what makes her so good at her job. Anyway, I gotta wrap up my fangirling here. Please enjoy this episode. Hello, Aleeza. Welcome to People Jew Want to Know podcast. How are you today?
Good. Thanks so much for having me.
I am so excited to chat with you today. My first question is a very easy one. Tell us about yourself. What have you been working on in the last 2 years since Netflix's Jewish Matchmaking?
What haven't I been working on, I think would be a better question. I sleep very little. So anybody who knows me well knows that they get messages and WhatsApps from me at all hours of the day and night, because I am really working on big picture, what I'm calling the Jewish matchmaking movement, which is in collaboration with Mizrahi World Movement and trying to just activate all the Jewish people around the world to basically make a match. My theory is that anyone can make a match. You don't have to be a matchmaker. And that we have a whole world of people that could actually be really helpful in bringing people together, and it shouldn't all be on my shoulders. So I guess what I've been working on is taking off the pressure from my own shoulders and trying to have an army of angels across the world helping to make introductions and to bring people together.
That's amazing. And you know what? The advice that I always live by is be your own matchmaker. Look out. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what a connection can pan out to be in the future. So everyone can be a matchmaker. And in fact, you should be your own and look out for yourself no matter where you are. So it's awesome to see how your work has evolved over the last few years. And I wonder, how has dating in general, you think, how has Jewish dating changed since the airing of the show?
I think people got really excited. They were like lit up about Jewish matchmaking. They're like, oh my gosh, there's support in the world and there's somebody who could find my person. And this actually exists. Like, it's not I don't want to say like a fairy tale or like Yenta from days gone by, but this is actually modern and real. So there's been an uptick in Jewish excitement about matchmaking and about finding somebody. And then after the show came out, we also had about 6 months later, October 7th. And there was kind of this rededication and commitment to, you know what? I need to find my partner and I need to do it now. There's two things. First, it's finding my partner. And then it's, oh yeah, but whenever, it could happen whenever. No. Now is a really good time to meet somebody. And I think that post-COVID, we came out of COVID, the show came out later, October 7th happened. I think that there's a lot of momentum towards, I want to live my life with a life partner. And that's something that's really important. And I think that it is really it's kind of gotten into our kishkas. It's gotten into the soul of who we are. And deep down within us, it's kind of like in our gut, it's, I need to do something. I'd like to meet my partner. I'd like to build a beautiful life. I'd like to build my community. And I want to find my person and I want to do it now. So I've just seen things shift from, maybe one day to no, now is the moment.
I 100% agree with you. And as a young single woman in New York, I can see there's a lot of excitement about not only matchmaking, but just like Jewish friends setting each other up, looking out for each other. I know personally, I'm always more excited about an introduction from a friend than I am from a random person on a dating app. I'll say that seeing the dating landscape evolve since pandemic, I do see a shift. And I think I'm biased because I only see what I know, right? I don't see everything. But what I'm finding is, for some reason, people are tired from dating, like on apps. I think both men and women are not excited about going on dates. And it's turned into this kind of volume thing where because you go on so many dates and the odds of them failing are so high, you don't want to really invest too much into any given date. But then as a result, you don't really position yourself well to succeed in those. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of issue. I always joke, like, it feels like chivalry is kind of dead now. And I think if I were a young man in a city like New York, I would be tired, because if you're going on a couple of drink dates a week and none of them are panning out and you're paying for all of these drinks, like, you would be exhausted and kind of jaded from dating. That's why, to me, being connected by friends or by matchmakers is so important, because it's a vote of confidence and a more thorough vetting process, which creates higher odds that the date will be successful. So in a world where there's so much volume of dating, connections that are more personal and vetted are more important than ever.
Yeah. And I want to just tie into a few things that you spoke about. I think one is being your own matchmaker can be exhausting, right? If you're going through the apps, you are your own matchmaker. Your app is your own database, right? And my question is, do you have the right skill set to be actually able to utilize that to its maximum capacity, or is it going to burn you out? So one thing I think is in making sure that singles and soulmate seekers, I'll call them, are skilled in how to find somebody, and if they are going to use the apps, how to do that. But I also agree that people are tired of that and they're like, I just want to go out and meet. Like, finally we can meet, right? COVID is dead and the world, I mean, not exactly, but mostly, right? But the world has opened up. We can go back to events again. And you talked also about chivalry being dead. So chivalry, I think, is what I would call in the man space, like, gentleman. We're not looking for a man. We're looking for a gentleman. Well, what does a gentleman mean, right? You'll open the door. You'll say hello. There's greetings. There's some responsibility that I am showing up as a man in this world to date. And I take ownership over that side. And for women, we are showing up as women and we are dating on our side. And I think that it is dead, but I think it shouldn't be. Like, I like chivalry. I like gentlemen. I like, ladies being ladies and a man being a gentleman, not just a man. I think that there's something really special to that brings, you watch an old movie and it brings that moment back where you're like, romance, right? Like, so somehow it catches the modern world up with a romanticized vision of the world and empowers us to not live in this swipe fast culture, but to live in a culture of human connection and in a way that we haven't been living so much in the last decade or so.
Yeah, it's been tough to reconcile, because I think with modern dating, women are more accomplished and career driven and bring more to the table than they ever have in any prior generation. But at the same time, it's really altered dating norms to where before it was so clear the man is responsible for the woman, because like back in, medieval times, women didn't have jobs, they didn't have money, they didn't have agency. So men had to take care of women as part of the relationship. But now, because women have all those things themselves, what is the obligation of a man to a woman? And I love leaning in on the traditional Jewish values for that. I think the idea of a tuba or a contract that says, here are your responsibilities to each other. If I'm not mistaken, actually, Aleeza, the ketubah is only the obligations of the man to a woman. There's not even an obligation of a woman to a man. It's just like, I, as your husband, will do X, Y, Z. I think that's really special because it not only sets up the couple for success because everything's so laid out, but it also forces the man, not from a physical standpoint, but to take some ownership of the relationship and to feel responsible for their partner. And I think that's beautiful. And that is what's missing to me in the modern dating landscape. But maybe I'm old school. I don't even know.
You and I are both old school because I like also that we have a role. Like, I do believe, like you said, women have it all today, right? You have everything except for a relationship. You can get anything you want in the world, except if you want to be in a relationship with somebody else, you just can't do that alone. Everything else you can do alone. You can buy a house, you can own property, you can get a job, you can earn millions, you can do anything you want. You can even have a baby on your own. Like, we need men, but like, they don't have to be in our lives. We can just go out and have children on our own. So if we really do want to have a family and we really do want to have a life with somebody else, then we have to step up and say, okay, what does that look like? And what are the roles? And what do I want in my life? And how can I fit somebody into my life? And not just fit them in, how do they exactly match what I need, what they need to make my world and the world a better place? It's not a very simple answer, and there's not a universal answer. I think everybody has their own personal answer of what they want in the world and how they get to that answer.
There's also something really cool about the Jewish community with regard to setting couples up for success with marriage that I think is unique to us, which is couples take classes before they get married on how to be in a successful partnership. If you're Reform or conservative, you can take it with your rabbi at the synagogue, and then the more traditional or Orthodox families, they work with a special, what is the name of this teacher?
A chatan or a kala, a bride
there we
or
go.
a groom's teacher.
Yep. And I think that's really cool because there are some skill sets about being a good partner that you're not going to learn without it being taught to you. It's like filing your own taxes. Like, you're not going to know unless someone teaches you.
It's so true. It's so true that we need not just to get married, but we need to know how to stay married. How do we stay in a relationship? And one of the biggest issues and challenges that a couple faces is communication. What do I say? How do I say it? When do I say it? When don't I say it? And what happens when we don't get along? And I think that many couples are very good at being happy together. Yeah, I know how to do this. So when we have challenges and we're trying to figure out where we go from here, we don't necessarily know what to do. And I think that by having these classes and having these conversations, it opens up, oh, Aleeza, you're like this, and you like to communicate, I don't know, in the moment and solve the problem. And your partner is different. Your partner likes to think about it. They like to reflect on it, and they want to come back 3 days later and have a conversation. Meantime, you're like fuming 3 days. You feel like you've been stonewalled and somebody's ignoring you. And the partner's like, no, I need time to think, right? So we always have to match our communication styles, even when they're wrong or mismatched. We have to align them so that we know how to communicate with our partner and how to take our relationship to the next level.
True. And the other thing I'll mention is that matchmaking is not only so much about making the match, but there's also a coaching component to it, which I think is even more important, which is how you coach your clients. And when we reflect back on your show, a big part of your work wasn't even setting up people to date. It was talking to them about like, here's what you got to do. And you have to be not so quick to judge. You have your famous phrase, date them till you hate them, which forces people to really give someone a chance and not be so quick to rule someone out over minor icks or things or whatever. Do you think you have any new phrases or advice that you've come up with since the famous date them till you hate them?
Oh, new phrases. I got to look up because I have something.
New isms.
It's called Aleeza-isms. Wait, that's how it is on my computer. And I save them. Hold on. If you actually hold on, I would actually look it up and I will tell you. But what I want to say first is that I think that one of the reasons that they picked me for the show is they didn't just want somebody to bring people together. Anybody can stick two people together, but how do you get them to go on a second date or a third date or a fifth date? How do we get the relationship to continue? And how do we pull out of them to actually really understand what they want? And like you said, that is the coaching process. And that is a part of matchmaking. There's 3 jobs of a matchmaker. You have to put them together. You have to connect them. You have to coach them and support them through it. And then you got to close the deal. Either we're getting married or we're not getting married. And I think that not everybody is good at all 3 parts. And if you're only good at throwing them together, good, throw them together. Somebody else will coach. If you're good at coaching, definitely coach. If you don't know how to close and like, yes, you're my person, soulmate clarity, the one, or like, we're done, forget about it. If you don't know how to do that, again, pass that off to somebody else, do what you're good at. But coaching is such a key component to the work that I do. And let me look up some phrases for you. Hold on one second. Okay, I'll explain some of them. Okay, so I have a whole system called Soulmate Clarity, and I talk about there's different colors. Green is where we're aligned in our Soulmate Clarity chart. Yellow is where it's acceptable. It's not what I love about you. I'm definitely not marrying you because of that, but it's acceptable. Orange is like potential deal breaker, okay? And the potential deal breaker might break the deal. Like if I don't accept this about you, we are not getting married. But I have a new phrase, and the new phrase is red is dead. Okay? Meaning if we hit a deal breaker, it's not a maybe deal breaker. It's not a potential deal breaker. But if it's red, if it is a hard deal breaker, it's dead. I don't even care if everything's perfect. 95% amazing alignment. This human is wow. And there's one thing you will not accept about them. Red is dead. The whole relationship is dead just because of that one thing. So that's one thing, which is kind of like an add-on to all of my phrases. It's not like its own new thing. I actually talk a lot about soulmate clarity in my upcoming book, which is called Matchmaker. Find Me a Love That Lasts. So I'm a little bit obsessed with soulmate clarity, and I think it's in a good way, not a bad way. But I love helping people find clarity. Another thing that I talk about that I came up with after the show, I did this at a workshop actually in Israel, in Jerusalem. And we talk about a slow grow versus a spark. Everybody talks about it. Slow grow, spark. Slow grow, spark. Which do you want? Which do people like? Everybody likes a spark. You know, there's almost nobody who really wants a slow grow who's like, yes, I want a relationship to slowly get better over time. That's how I want to buy in. Almost nobody says that. And I don't really like either. A slow grow is too slow. A spark is too fast. Usually a spark is like, amazing, I think you're my person. And 10 days later, never want to see them again. So I don't love it because it's like fireworks and dead. But I like to combine the slow grow with the spark and call it a slow spark. Okay? It's not a slow grow. It should be a slow spark. It should slowly grow with little sparks here and there. Oh, that was good. I mean, not the whole thing yet, but oh, that was nice. And then a little bit more over time and things are good. And you're like, oh, but I like that. Oh, that really works for me. But I got the whole picture. It's not like overwhelming. A spark is overwhelming. It's 100% I buy in and that's it. I don't even have to think about it. I just know. I feel it, right? And everybody's knowing, by the way, is usually pretty wrong. Not everybody, and not all the time, but like majority of the time, we can't count on it because we wake up tomorrow and we feel differently. And you're like, I don't know why. I just don't feel it anymore. And you're like, what changed? I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. Okay, well, then we can't count on your feelings. We need to count on experiences, and we need to add up and do the math and see if all of your experiences make sense to keep growing with this person.
I do think one thing that's important, which I had to learn, was I'm somebody that I kind of know right away if I'm interested in the person. Like something about them has to appeal to me. That doesn't mean that's a spark. It just means there's something about them that I gravitate to. And a lot of times my girlfriends have challenged me, like, maybe you're just looking for a spark and you're quick and you got to go on another date. If there isn't a part of them that I'm attracted to from the outset, I've never gone on more dates and been like, I was wrong. I really like them. Like, I've never changed my mind on that. But what I like about what you're saying is when I think about the guys that I've dated. So I had a long-term boyfriend in college, and apparently we met at a party And then later he messaged me on Facebook. And I had no idea who he was. I didn't realize I had a full conversation with that guy. I fully forgot. That's how unimpressed and disinterested I was. I didn't even remember that we met. And then I pushed myself. I was like, you know what? He's Russian speaking Jewish like me. Let me just go on a date. We ended up dating for a year. Or like another guy I dated, we matched on an app. All his photos were horrible. They were literally horrible. I was like, why would you voluntarily choose this for your profile? But he had HBO Max producer on his profile. And I thought that, I'm trying to start a podcast. This guy works in entertainment. Let me do a date. Like if it's not a connection, maybe it's good for me to know a producer. We ended up dating as well.
Maybe it's a good business connection.
Exactly.
But I love that you had no pressure. There was no pressure from what you just described, right? Like, okay, we'll go out, we'll see. But you weren't like, I need a spark. You're like, I see something there that's interesting to me, why I might buy into you as a human being. Let's see if there's something there romantically for me to grab on.
But that has to be there. That something has to be there.
Okay, I identify that as your HQH. He's a high quality human to you. Okay. And HQH is a high quality human in the areas that matter and are important to you. And I think that what you're saying is I need him baseline to have something that speaks to me, because without that, I can't just go and just hope something will pop up. In the initial meet, there's got to be at least one thing that I'm going to buy into, and then I'm willing to continue.
And I also went on a date earlier this week, and I texted my friends and I was like, I genuinely don't have an opinion on this person. I talked with him for 2 hours, Aleeza. I don't know if I like him or not. I just like, I'm like, it wasn't bad. We have a lot to talk about, but I have no idea if I'm interested in him in any romantic sense whatsoever. And I've never had that before, because usually I know right away. And I was like, I have absolutely no opinion. I blacked out.
Okay, so the rule of thumb is if it's not
again.
If it's not a no, it's a go. I like the rhymes, right? So like, and you just need more data and information, and you're like, I don't know, because I don't know if I like you. I don't not like you, because if I didn't like you, I would know I didn't like you and I would tell you. And I don't like you, because if I liked you, I'd feel like I like you. I just was able to spend time with you, and I probably could do it again, and I'll probably figure it out on a second or third time. And that's where a lot of people are. Like, it's funny, you're figuring this out for the first time and experiencing it, and it's not usually your experience. There's a lot of daters that have that experience every single time, and they don't know what to do with it, and they just keep going out. And then it also sometimes, burns them out from dating, because they've been going out so many times, and they just don't know. They just don't know. It's overwhelming and exhausting. So it's nice that you do have a feeling or an understanding that you mostly know, but it's also good now that you know the other side, so you can relate to your friends and be human too.
But I think it's a sign of emotional maturity, because that means you're not as quick to form opinions about things and be so categorical, which to someone like me who is very categorical, it's a great thing. So it's a good challenge. I appreciate it. Now, talk to me about the couples that you've matched. Do you have any favorite stories that come to mind about matches you've been able to make in the last few years?
So there's a couple, and I actually just saw them recently on my travels. And I met him, and I was like, okay, interesting guy. I met her, and I was like, oh, that's his person, right? And people think that this is what happens to me all the time. This sometimes happens, that I have a very strong intuition, knowing, understanding that this would be a great match. But I felt very strongly about this. So I called him and I said, there's somebody I'd like to set you up with. And he's like, okay, but like, why? And I think it's a great question. Why do you think of this person for me? And I said to him, listen, here's what I know about her. And everything that I know about her is basically you. And he's like, what does that mean? And then I called her and I tell her the same story. And I said, and everything about him is basically you. This is one but the girl and the other one but a guy. It was the opposite thing. And they were like, but what does that mean? And I was like, listen, you both know me personally, and I don't like to do this, but I'm explaining to you, you're like the same human being in two bodies. You're just really the same. There's a lot of experiences, a lot of things you've been through. It all matches, and I don't understand why. You should go out and you'll see what I mean. And I can't give you any more details than that, but like your life stories kind of align, and that's why I think it's a really great match. They went out and they called me and they're like, did you know at 16 we both did this, and then at 18 and they like literally there was so much more to the story that I didn't even know, that literally aligned. And they're like, that's weird. But I mean, I don't know if this is the one. And I was like, okay, well, I have another rule. And the rule is you can't break up until you convince me why it's a good reason that you should be breaking up. And you have no good reason. So you have to keep going out. And they went out for probably closer to 9 months to a year. And then they got engaged and got married. And they have a couple kids now. And I just saw them recently. And I'm like, how are you guys doing? And she's like, it was a great match. Like, you were right. We didn't understand, but we totally get it. And it was really a very aligned match.
The funny thing is that the people that were on the show, a lot of them didn't end up in matches from the show. But I actually think for the plot line, it's more interesting that way. For the development of the plot line, I think it was good that some of them didn't end up together because we could see them go on more dates with other people, learn about them more as individuals. But a lot of the characters on the show have ended up in long-term relationships, which I find interesting. But the funniest part for me is like, when we take somebody like David Behar, he's with a Sephardic girl. And if you saw him on the show, you're like, of course he's with a Sephardic girl, because we saw him date an Ashkenazi girl and be like really uncomfortable about it. And he didn't know how to put it into words because he had to go on the date. But that's what he learned as part of the show, is that he really wants someone who's Sephardic like him.
And we did, by the way, we did talk about that. That was like a thing. And I was like, well, you're, Sephardi. Do you want Sephardi only? Are you open to Ashkenazi? And he's like, I'm really open. I think it could go either way. And we talked about, but you have a Sephardic club. You're pretty into being Sephardi. Wouldn't it make more sense? And he was like, yeah, but it doesn't matter as long as she's open. Or he basically said, which is true, if we get married, so she would become Sephardic. So as long as she's okay, adopting and taking on the customs, then it's fine. And he's right. That's what happens when you get married. The woman takes on the man's customs, whether they're Ashkenazi or Sephardi. And I think you're right. Through the show, he learned, yeah, probably Sephardi is a smarter natural fit. Organically, it makes more sense. But it did make, like you said, an interesting storyline. They really did, everybody on the show really did give it a real shot. And I also asked them, I was like, listen, don't just date on camera. I need you to also go off camera and see each other in real life. I want to know if you really like each other. And don't just judge by first glance on camera. I don't know, maybe one of you is putting on a show. Like maybe it's not really who you are. And I believe almost everybody really agreed to go out and meet each other off camera and build a connection. So I thought that was something that was really special and also necessary. And there was a match, which you guys don't know about, that came about after the show. One of the guys who dated one of the main characters, I set up with somebody and they got married just a couple months ago. And they had dated for about a year and then got married. We don't get to see all of the, happily ever afters. And also I did follow up with a lot of the people on the show with coaching, with support. Cindy in Israel, she's like, Aleeza, I self-sabotage, help. And I was like, great, you're not allowed to break up. Convince me why. And the guy that she, ended up marrying, she probably would have self-sabotaged, not because there was anything wrong with him. He's clearly the right person for her, but just because she had a pattern and she's like, help me get out of my own way. And she did such a great job of doing that. So I do think that the coaching really made a difference for people. And I think that's the sweet spot, like knowing yourself, knowing what you need, knowing who the other person is, and just figuring out how long do we go out till I give my yes or no, until I have that full clarity. I think that's the sweet spot in matchmaking. Like, how do I know if this is the one or if I should be done?
What I was thinking about as you were speaking was there's definitely a right answer on reality TV. When you're a contestant on reality TV and you're dating in front of the camera, you want to demonstrate that you're flexible. You want to demonstrate that you're open to things because you don't want people to form an opinion of you that you're a closed-minded contestant. Now, the interesting thing is, so I was cast on a dating show that didn't go to production. It was an HBO show called First Dates Hotel. It was going to be produced by Ellen DeGeneres. Unfortunately, she got canceled and it was the pandemic, so the show died. We didn't even get to the contract stage. They just took it off the market. And when I interviewed for the show, I took a completely different approach. Usually when you're a contestant, you want to demonstrate that you're kind of open-minded, you're flexible. Take David, right? He was like, I'm open to Sephardic and Ashkenazi, even though deep down he probably was like, no, I just want Sephardic, but I'd rather try it out as part of the show. That was not the approach I took as an interviewee for the show. I came to them and I said, here's what I want. I want built, blonde, tall, good luck finding that in a Jewish man.
No, but that's great. No, that's great. So that makes my brain hurt. Okay, you want something that is hard to find that doesn't really exist. We'll look for a German Jew. We'll find somebody who, right.
And I was 22 at the time. And actually, I forgot to add that I also had beard in there. So my framework was 3 B's and a T, built blonde, beard tall. And I thought that that's what I wanted. And I can say now that I've gone through so many dating experiences, that's not necessarily what I want at all. In fact, 3 of the 4 of those B's and T's don't matter whatsoever to me, as long as they're funny, charismatic, ambitious, and Jewish. That's all I want. So
I love that your whole list totally got wiped out and flipped.
Yeah.
I'm like, actually, what I thought I wanted, I need something different.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't correlate with success in a partnership whatsoever. But for the purposes of the show, it was a very smart casting strategy because it gave them a character.
Correct.
And so I was that jappy Jewish girl who wanted the blonde, bearded, built Jewish guy that doesn't exist anywhere in the world. I really enjoyed going through that experience. A part of me thinks one day there will be an opportunity for reality TV and I will seize it.
Amen. Let's do it. We need more good TV, more good Jewish TV.
Yes.
More entertaining edutainment with the, Jewish singles, and something that really, I love it that we can educate and entertain simultaneously. I love it that we can just bring wisdom to the world, let it be fun, let it be playful, and let it be totally real and experiential. I think that's so important.
And speaking of educating, I want to go back to your book, Matchmaker. What can we look forward to?
Oh, okay. Here's what I love about it. Matchmaker, Find Me a Love That Lasts, is a book that tells, similar to Jewish Matchmaking on Netflix, tells stories. So you see Aleeza's clients, real clients, although we change the names and storylines so that nobody can be identified, but you see them go through the dating process. And then it's like, hey, Aleeza has this advice. Maybe they do it. Maybe they don't. The relationship works. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. But you see real people moving through the process, and with all of my Aleeza-isms. So the date them till you hate them, and the soulmate clarity, and do the math. Does this really add up? And all the dating red flags, because that is a huge one that people are obsessed with. And also realizing things like you can only move as fast as the slowest person. Oh, what does that mean? That means if you move quickly in relationships, your partner doesn't. That means that you have to slow down because they don't move any faster. And even if you need to get to the next step, there's no way they can match you because the other one's the slowest. So if you want to match with them, you got to slow your pace down. So it gives not just like, oh, here's the advice, here's what I think you should do. It gives a client story and an example. So you're like, oh, that I can relate to. Oh, don't do that? Okay, and then at the end, there's tips and tools and resources. So it's not just like an enjoyable read, but it's a practical read that you can then take and implement in your own life. I've had so many people call me, and a lot of people tell me, they're like, I was going to call you for coaching. I needed support, but I remembered what you said. And then they followed my advice. One of them was like, you can only move as fast as the slowest person. And she's like, he was the slowest person and I was going to dump him. And I was like, what happened? She goes, I didn't. We're engaged. And it's thanks to you. I'm like, yay. I didn't even make the match. I didn't even have to coach the match. You took the advice, you implemented it in your life, and now you found your match. And for me, that is the greatest joy and the greatest pleasure, knowing that people can have all the tools and the skills that they need to be successful in their life and to find their life partner.
I'm really looking forward to it. And I did have a chance to grab a copy at your book release party, which was so much fun. So I can't wait to read it and see if it changes anything in my philosophy.
I hope it does.
I hope it does too, right? There's always something for us to learn. You know what? This reminds me of something that I saw on TikTok. I don't think you will agree with it completely, but it gave me so much peace of mind when I saw it. And I'll tell you why. There's this author or journalist, her name is Sherry Silver. I think she's Jewish. And she made this TikTok out of nowhere that was like, I'm sorry, I have to speak up on this. If people try to offer you advice on what you got to do to be dating, or, little phrases that you got to use or philosophies, like all it is to find the right partner is to have access to the right people at the right time. It's luck. You have to run into the right person at the right time. The point of her whole TikTok was like, anyone who's trying to tell you there's something you can do or something you can join or something you can read to just solve this issue, they're bullshitting you. Because what it comes down to is meeting the right person at the right time. And while I see her point, what I think she's missing that I learned from another one of my podcast guests, which is the hostage negotiator, Mickey Bergman, is he said, finding the right opportunity isn't just about luck, because you have to see it for the opportunity and you have to respond correctly. You have to seize the opportunity. It requires some active behavior from you in order to capitalize on the right person at the right time. And so you could be being served, countless right men all the time at your coffee shop or whatever you are, at your yoga class, and you just don't see it. It doesn't matter that you were with the right people at the right time because you didn't act right in that moment. So I think it's not the two things she said. I think it's the three things, which is also you have to be an active participant and see that the opportunity is there when it's presented.
I 100% agree with you. And I also just don't believe that it's luck. I do think the right person at the right time is also something that's divinely inspired, and that there's not just randomness to this universe, but there is an order to this universe. And whether you want to call it a higher power or God or however you relate to a higher power or a spiritual being, it's not to me just random, and it's not just luck, and it's not just me. Right? So I need to be an active participant in my life. Yes. And it has to be the right person at the right time. And I think that there is a little bit of divine, or a lot of divine assistance from above to get us to where we need to go. But I do believe that we each have our own free will, and that if we don't use it properly, like you said, then we miss all of the opportunities that are in front of us. And that's really a big mistake and really a shame, because there could be so many people and so many things lined up, and it might not work out just because we didn't have the awareness. So I agree with you on that point.
I think the reason that watching her video gave me so much comfort is because when you're a single woman and you're just not meeting the right people, you'll hear some matchmakers say, okay, if you like yoga and you want to meet like-minded people, instead of going to the same yoga studio every week, try switching it up so that maybe you could run into somebody at the yoga studio. Expand your network, right? It's all, for example, Shana TB will say, dating is like networking, expand your network. And the reason I liked her video is because sometimes I feel like I'm just working overtime on something that's not up to me. This is not a one-woman thing. I can't work twice as hard to find the right person. They have to appear. And when I talk about luck, I agree with you. I think there is divine timing. It's just because we don't see it coming, to us it is perceived as luck because it's like fortuitous. We don't know that it's there. We didn't see it. With that said, I always think about, gosh, there's got to be a guy out there who's struggling as much as I am to find him that he is to find me, because I've been through the ringer.
So sometimes I found that your person isn't ready for whatever reason. There could be a host of reasons. They're in between jobs. Parent, sibling, friend passed away and they're mourning the loss. They aren't ready yet. They could be married and getting divorced. There's literally dozens upon dozens of reasons why they're not ready. And if you're in a position where you're ready, I also tell people, stay like cruise control for you, right? Like keep going, keep cruising along, keep doing what you're doing because you're not doing anything wrong. And pray that your partner should be ready, because it could just be a matter of timing and that it's not their time and they're not ready, which means for you, you're not ready. And keep busy with your life, make podcasts, be great in the world, do everything that you're doing, and be ready for when things shift on his side and where there's going to be an opening for you to step in and meet.
Well, I think for me, it might be the opposite, because I was reflecting on it. If I had met somebody a year ago, I would have never started the podcast, and I would have never met any of the amazing people that I've met and learned all the things that I've learned and done all the things that I've done. And a part of me was like, whew, I'm so relieved I don't have anybody, because between my full-time job and running this, there's just no time to also commit to a partner. So maybe I'm the one that's like going through something before and the other person's in cruise control. So who knows?
Yeah, it sounds
Stay
like
tuned.
I was going to say, it sounds like you maybe need to carve out a little space. Full-time work, podcast, soulmate. There needs to be like
a little bubble.
A little bloop right in the middle so that you guys can meet.
And as we start the new year, I feel like with New Year's resolutions, it's a perfect time for people when they start thinking, okay, well, now I got to put dating on the agenda. I got to carve out my tiny little bubble between my stuff to go on dates. Like I try to go, this is going to sound bad, but like maybe I go on a date a month. Like one date per month. I tried maybe to bump it up to a date a week. It's never happened because I just don't meet that many people. So what advice do you have for people in the new year who want to approach dating with a fresh outlook now that the year's begun?
So when you're coming with a fresh outlook, first of all, your outlook should be positive. You should just remember in the blueprint of creation, you come into this world, your person comes into this world, you have the ability to find them. For people that it's the first time around, you can find them. If it's the second time around, you've had a soulmate, but it's not there, great, you get a new soulmate. This is just the way that the world works. So just knowing and having comfort that the world works this way is important. And then choosing the things that you want to do to try and meet. I try to tell people, don't burn out. So if you like in-person events, go to them. If you are not a social butterfly, then do things online, right? Do the least painful thing in dating and make an effort there. And the thing that you hate, do last, right? So, people that are social butterflies, you should be at events, on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. You should be getting out there, networking, talking to people, schmoozing with people on the train or anywhere that you go. Just connect. If you're an introvert, you should stay home. You should try to date online. You should talk to your close friends and family and coworkers. Let them know you're looking for somebody. Ask them to be your matchmaker and support you in making a match suggestion and finding somebody in their life that's relevant. And start that way instead of running into the world, which is going to just deplete your energy. And then when you run out of options and what you're doing isn't working, so keep shifting to the things that you don't love, but do them last on the list.
I like that. Take the path of least resistance.
That's it.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Aleeza. And how can people connect with you on social media and learn more about your work?
You can find me at Aleeza Ben Shalom on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, wherever you like to be, that's where I am also. And you can find me also at my website at Aleeza Ben Shalom. And Matchmaker, you can find anywhere that you like to buy books. So if you want it from, Amazon, great. Barnes & Noble, great. It really makes no difference. You should grab a copy because you don't need to talk to me for real. You could just read the book. You'll have literally it is a download of my brain into your brain. And then you can just do it the way that, I like to do it for my clients. And God willing, you'll get good results. You'll send me a message. I did it. I was going to call you, but I didn't need you. Thanks for the advice. Mwah, getting married.
But what a privilege it is when you do have the chance to talk to Aleeza is what I'll say. I mean, you're just a ray of sunshine and positivity. And I have energy from speaking to you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I have one final question for you. It's one that I ask every single guest of the podcast. Who would you like to nominate for People You Want to Know?
Oh, okay. People you want to know. You should meet this Rabbi Yisrael Bernath. He's known as the Love Rabbi. And we were supposed to meet years ago because we were both matchmakers and dating coaches and all these things. And then we never met. And then somebody, our matchmaker, put us together and he's like, I'm making a business match. If you don't meet within 48 hours, we're getting on a 3-way call and I'm going to make sure you guys meet. And we finally met and we started working together and collaborating. And he is also a ball of energy, a lot of fun, and has a lot to say on my favorite subject in the world, which is dating, love, relationships, and marriage. So he's definitely somebody you want to know.
Thank you so much for that nomination. It has been a real treat to meet with you today and to pick your brain about dating, which gives me so much grief. So thank you so much, Aleeza.
You're welcome. Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, please go ahead and rate us 5 stars. Be the first to hear our episodes by subscribing to People You Want to Know wherever you get your podcasts. And for exclusive content, follow us on Instagram at People You Want to Know.